Do you go low and I go high, or?
I feel like we should both go high.
Okay.
Just
right,
really go for it.
Okay. How'd you do that warm up earlier? Okay.
There we go.
Three.
Warmed up.
You understand you gotta play it for us. I bet you didn't know that I was dangerous.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, there you go. There's an exclusive for you. Hey, what's up, GroundSounds? I'm John, and I'm here pre-show with the big, giant floating head behind Big Data, if you will, Mr. Alan Wilkis. Alan, how are you tonight?
I wish my head would actually float right now.
Well, the bar's right over there if you want to step over there. Well, we're about 90 minutes from Big Data taking the stage here at the LC in Columbus, Ohio. So close to a live show, Alan. What's your mindset? Are you excited? Are you nervous? Is the adrenaline going?
I don't get nervous anymore. I used to get nervous. Now I don't.
Mm-hmm.
Mostly I just get excited, and it doesn't really the adrenaline doesn't kick in until you step on stage, really.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just try to get my head in the game, and I do a lot of like nerdy vocal warm-up things.
All right. Can we hear some of that right now?
You know, it's like ha 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 ha, shit like that.
Hey, I would pay money to come see that. Well, Alan, as an electronic music producer, you obviously spend a lot of time in the studio. What are some of the challenges of taking your music out of the studio, onto the stage with a full band, live performance?
Yeah, I mean, there's a ton. The most overarching one is definitely in the studio. The music I like to make, and a lot of the music I like to listen to, is music that combines things that don't go together. And I like lots of different kinds of sounds for like short little periods of time. Mm-hmm. So like, one note from a horn and then one guitar chord like 2 minutes later, and like
keep it fresh.
Yeah, and like chopping them up. So it's sort of like the anti-band approach. So having to turn that into something you can do in a show is a huge pain in the ass.
I can imagine.
Yeah, but now that we've been doing it for a while, it's really fun.
It's coming together.
Yeah, kind of, I don't know, technology obviously makes it easier to translate what you do in the studio to what you do on the stage.
Speaking of technology, that's pretty much the whole reason for this project in the first place, is kind of your interest in how internet is shaping the human experience, kind of sort of the trade-off between privacy and convenience. Can you talk a little bit about why that has inspired you to make this music?
Yeah, well, you've nailed it.
Well, anyways, next question.
Yeah, moving right along. No. Well, so I've been a music producer for a long time, and I've always loved collaborating with different singers and rappers, and I like sort of making the instrumental stuff and then working on vocal parts with other people. And I'd been making music that way for a few years prior to starting Big Data, and then I had started working with a dude named Dan Armbruster from the band Joywave in the summer of 2012, and we were really just kind of sketching ideas out, and I didn't really have a name for a project yet, so I wasn't thinking about those themes yet. I was just kind of getting started, and then I went to my friend's wedding, and he is an actual big data scientist. Yeah, he calls himself a data scientist. He's really, really freakishly smart. And he was telling me about his career, and he kept talking about big data, and it wasn't a term that you saw everywhere yet. It was just kind of strictly for like nerds.
Right.
But I had a feeling that it would be increasingly, more everywhere. And I thought it was cool as a name, and it was cool to think about. And so that's sort of how it started. And once I had the name, then, I started thinking more about like how would that play out in the context of a song. Every time I write a song. So, yeah, the name kind of came before the actual concept.
Right. But it's music with a message, I mean.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, yes. Yeah. But as it started, it was sort of like, I just thought it was interesting, and I explored it. Right. And now that I'm sort of in it, it's like, yeah.
Well, it's a good thing you did, because your song Dangerous is just a huge hit. How's your life changed since that song exploded?
Pretty dramatically, like really dramatically. I had a job, a full-time job.
Doing what?
I worked in the music industry, and I worked in music publishing, and so I had a full-time job until the beginning of March this past year. It's already been long enough that feels like a lifetime ago.
Now you have a song that was #1 on Billboard's alternative charts.
It's like totally crazy, yeah. And I've played probably 40 or 50 shows since then. Audiences as big as 10,000 people. And prior to all of this happening, the biggest shows I had played were like 200 people or 300 people.
The intimate venues.
Yeah, but they didn't feel intimate at the time. I was like, yeah, 300 people, hell yeah. And now it's like, oh, 2,000, cool. Yeah, that'll be a good show. Yeah. It's like, I can't believe how much that has changed, and the fact that I'm able to do this now as my career is an incredible gift. And
well, it's also allowed you to work with a lot of of your peers. You've collaborated with, as you mentioned, Daniel from Joywave and White Sea. You recently collaborated with. Is there anyone out there who you'd like to work with?
Oh yeah, there's a never-ending list of those.
#1, top.
#1, Prince. Prince is #1.
Prince is a pretty good #1.
Yeah, that's like a no-brainer. But also, Brian Wilson and Stevie Wonder. Yeah,
those are dream gets right there.
Yeah, those are the top 3, I think.
Right. Well, a lot of your fans, myself included, are excited about your new album, 2.0. Supposed to come out in March, correct?
Looking like March.
March 2015?
Yep.
What can you tell us about the new album?
Well, it's probably going to have 12 songs. They're all relatively written at this point, and now I just need to kind of get home from tour, which is not going to happen for a while. But when I do get home from tour, then I can actually finish them. I worked with a whole bunch of different singers that I love. I got to work with
anyone in particular?
Yeah. I worked with Kimbra and Jamie Liddell, Twin Shadow, and White Sea, obviously, Bare Hands, Y Oak, whole bunch of bands that I just adore. And I made a wish list basically of people I'd love to work with, and a lot of them were receptive.
Got a lot of them. Well, thanks for joining us today, and best of luck going forward, and have a great show tonight, man. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Alan Wilkis, otherwise known as Big Data, and you're watching GroundSounds.